Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Janey Grace. I hope you're well and you've had a good week. And I've been to Spain again. Some of you know about my ongoing saga of my dental work that had to be done due to bad dentistry. That's a story for another time. I will document it all because actually, you know, there was an awful lot. An awful lot to be learnt through all the challenges. There always is, isn't there? It's always about turning whatever your challenges are. You've got to try and find the gold in them somehow. So I will at some point document all of the stuff that went on and how I was able to recover super quickly and overcome some of my fears. And today's guest, actually, it links very nicely to some of the introspective stuff, because I'm going to be chatting later to Sally Magee, who's one of our sober coaches. She trained with me to be a sober coach, but in addition to the sober coach stuff that she's going to be doing, Sally is a Gallup certified strengths coach, as in find your strengths, as in, you know your strengths. And of course I did my strengths survey, if you like, with along with Sally, and it's really fascinating when you get to find out how you tick. I mean, I know we kind of know. We know what we're good at. We know what we enjoy. But when you get it really explained to you in detail, it's very powerful. And I think for those of us, isn't it everybody who's on some kind of improvement journey, whether you're trying to make a behavior change, trying to stop drinking, trying to do whatever it's needed next, whatever the thing is you're focusing on next to live your best life. It really helps when you realize, okay, I need to do more of those pieces that I'm really good at. And perhaps for some of the stuff that I'm really bad at, maybe I just need to hire somebody or do a swap, right? So it's a really fascinating discussion, that we'll be having in a little while. The one fun fact that Sally gave me is that an individual's talents are so unique that only 1 in 33 million have the same top 5 strengths. I found that absolutely incredible. I mean, we tend to think that everybody is like us, don't we? We tend to think that everyone's good at the same kind of stuff, but of course they clearly aren't. And that's what makes everything so rich. And that's why I think we have to make sure that whatever it is we're focusing on, that we've got a diverse range of support and inspiration and experiences. Really, I think that's possibly why I am so passionate about the holistic picture. You know, there never is only one way to do anything. We really do have to be able to play to our strengths, literally, that same expression. And that might mean that for you, if you're in the early stages of ditching the booze, what you really need to do is, grab a book and read the logic around the alcohol piece, or perhaps, if you're more auditory, you want to listen to a podcast, in which case you should listen to my one with Dr. Anya Topiwala, while we're on that subject of the logic around alcohol. As I say, or grab a book that really gives you the logic, or maybe you're someone who that's not really the best way that you like to learn, and you just want to connect with other people and feel inspired that way. So there's always so many different ways to do everything. So I hope you'll really enjoy this interview. We've had some very interesting posts in the Sober Club this week as well. Lots of people celebrating milestones, which has been wonderful. Lots of people posting lovely pictures of their app, that says they're 2 years sober or whatever it is. And there was just one post I just wanted to read you a little bit of, because I just thought it was really nice, really positive. Somebody says here, I've just joined the Sober Club and so far I've found everything totally inspirational. I never thought I'd have the capacity mentally or physically to embark on this journey. So long may it continue with the inner strength and peace that I'm starting to feel. I'm now 4 months AF, alcohol free, and I've been drinking since my late teens. And it's been a lot of years of self-abuse, and now acknowledging the impact that this has had on those around me and my life. And now I'm happier living the true me dash whoever that is. Thank you for all sharing your ups and downs. I absolutely love the podcast and the content. Yeah, I love posts like that when people recognize, the light comes on and they just start to recognize, wow, I can start to become who I really am, the new me, whoever that is. That's a very interesting expression, because it can take a little while before we step into this new identity. We don't know at the beginning. I remember feeling, oh my God, so shaky and raw and chaotic and just, I didn't know who I was. Well, of course I didn't, because I'd been changing who I really was for years and years and years with booze, pouring toxic liquid down my head. So very glad to be free of it. I think I've mentioned that a few times. I just want to share with you a few things that we've got coming up. We've got a free webinar, class, session, whatever you want to call it, this Sunday. So depending when you're listening to this podcast, Sunday, the 3rd of December. It's just a Zoom session. It's at 4:30 in the afternoon, and it was originally just for Sober Club members. And I thought, well, I'll open it up, because if you're not a Sober Club member, but you just want to join us and share our Christmas session, it's called Bossing a Sober Christmas. It doesn't matter if you're sober curious or if you've been sober for absolutely ages. There's always some great tips and connections you can pick up. So it's this Sunday, 4:30. So if you're a Sober Club member, you'll already know all about it. If you're not, if you go to thesoberclub.com, click on the blog section, you'll see the info there. Or if you go to the show notes to this podcast, I'll give you the link there. You do have to register to get the link, or you can also just drop me a message on social media and I'll make sure you get that. And if you're not a Sober Club member, but you would like to make a little donation to our Sober Club Give Back Fund, that would be hugely appreciated. We would really appreciate that. Or you can buy me a coffee. Somebody bought me a coffee last week. It's very nice. It pops up and says, someone bought you a coffee. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. Anyway, so that's the 3rd of December. So that's in a couple of days. And then on the 5th of December, as most of you know, I've got a very, very exciting event. I can barely breathe. I'm so excited. I'm going to be interviewing Catherine Gray live for a live podcast recording in London. And to the best of my knowledge, the tickets were sold out, but often there are some returns, or we get some spaces freed up. So it's definitely worth having a look. So again, I'll make sure the link is in the show notes for that event. It's at Club Soda in London, and it's 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 5th of December. But don't rock up unless you do have a ticket, because place is quite small and the tickets sold out very quickly. But do check it out. It'd be fantastic to meet some of you and interview Catherine, who was one of my very, very first podcast guests. I just absolutely love everything she does. So very excited to be interviewing Catherine on Tuesday. And then that's not it. We have an online family constellations on Friday, the 8th of December. Now, most of you know that I run family constellations workshops with a leading trauma expert, Rafe Nayan, and we have another one in person at the end of February, which is hopefully going to be in York. But for those people who are not in the UK, perhaps you're somewhere else in the world, or you can't get to do it in person, then we have an online session. Of course, it's not quite the same, but it is really powerful. We did one before and we had people from 3 continents, and it was very powerful stuff. So it's absolutely worth joining us if you can on Friday, the 8th of December. We're doing that at 7:30 p.m. so that it's possible time-wise for people in the States or even Australia. I think it just about works. So for that, again, if you go to thesoberclub.com, click on events, and you'll find the info there to get a ticket for that family constellations. Again, numbers are limited, so check it out as soon as you can. You can also, again, look at the show notes where I'll link you through there as well. And just a quick mention, again, I know I say it all the time, but if you want support, if you want connection, if you want inspiration, if you want accountability, all of the above, and masses of incredible content around all aspects of well-being, then do check out the Sober Club. It's low cost, incredibly high value. I don't think you'll regret joining us. If you care about your health and well-being, then, come on down. It's thesoberclub.com. So without further ado, then let me introduce you to Sally. Really interesting work that Sally has done in the past. She's had 25 years in the engineering and construction industry, and then has been a professional leadership coach and a trainer. And she brings this solutions-oriented mindset to her coaching. And she is a Gallup certified strengths coach and accredited sober coach. She did the course with me, which was fantastic to work with Sally. She came over from the States. How cool is that? To the UK. And so now Sally is doing this amazing work with helping people to look at their strengths. And so enjoy the interview. Well, I've got a really interesting topic today. Very much looking forward to this. I'm a very big fan of anything that kind of identifies our strengths, our personality types. I've long been fascinated by all of this, and just really pleased that my guest is Sally Magee, who is queen of strengths. So Sally is going to tell us all about something called Clifton Strengths and how that can kind of help us in our journey. Sally, thank you so much for being willing to be a guest.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's really great to chat about this. So Sally came on our the sober coach training that I offer. And so Sally's also an accredited sober coach, but it very quickly became clear as we were chatting that you have this passion for encouraging people to find their own strengths. So just for anyone who's thinking, well, what the hell even is that? Just give us the top line. What are Clifton strengths? What does it mean to find your strengths?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to just do a real quick intro for sure. Clifton Strengths is amazing. What it is just real quickly is an online assessment you can do that will identify your natural talents and strengths. And the results that you get are a kind of a color-coded DNA looking result of your 34 themes. So each of the talents is known as a theme of talents. And what you get is your talents in ranked order from the most strongest. So your top strengths, your dominant talents, down to your weakest or lesser talents, as Gallup likes to call them. It's also important. I just mentioned Gallup. So this is a Gallup product, based on decades of research by basically studying what's right with people. So a real quick background is, Don Clifton is kind of known as the godfather of the strengths movement, invented kind of the assessment, but also the research backed by these decades of research by really studying what's right with people. And at the time, it was, mental health and psychology was really based on studying what's wrong with people. And he said, well, what if we flip the switch and we study what's right? We understand their strengths, their talents, and help them use their talents toward productively aiming them in their lives. And that's how we can reach our potential, is by doing more of what we already do well. That's kind of the gist of it. So the assessment gives you your results in ranked order. There's 34 themes of talent, and you get a lot of insights when you do the assessment and find your strengths.
Yeah, but it's very much not just about productivity or what work you might do. I mean, I think what I found really interesting is that there may be people listening who are thinking, they've got these ideas about the kind of person they are. Oh, I can't stop drinking. I can never follow through. If I do a challenge, at the end of the challenge, I always go back to whatever it's those things, in NLP, we talk a lot about the things when people say, oh, I always, or I never, and we do have these perceptions about ourselves, don't we? So, as I say, it's not only about productivity. It can, I guess, finding these strengths can really help support you in the behavior changes you might want to make.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. What's maybe important to also cover is that your strengths, they apply to all areas of your life. They make you, they describe what makes you uniquely you, right? And so they apply not just in your work life, right? Or your family life or your community life or that persona. They describe your top dominant talents describe about 80 to 90% of the way that you do things uniquely to you. They're grouped in a little bit more on the background in executing, strategic thinking, influencing, and relationship building. So there's 4 kind of buckets of talents in those 4 groupings. And they apply in any role that you have in your life, whether you're a business owner, a community official, or as a mom or a dad, right? So they apply to everywhere. It's not just about being more productive in your role at work, for example.
Yeah. So if if somebody, if you as a coach, are working with somebody who, let's say they want to stop drinking, or they're constantly going back, repeating the same patterns, typically what might you uncover then that could support them? I know it's a hypothetical question.
Hypothetically, let's take one as a simple example. Competition is one of the 34 themes. Competition is one. It's in the influencing domain. It loves winning. It loves to play a game, but there's no second place for someone with competition talents. It is all about being first place. So if I were coaching someone who we knew their strengths and they were high in competition, I would turn the not drinking into a game of sorts, right? So make it a competition, turn it into a 30-day challenge or a 90-day challenge or something. Someone like that will want to win that game. They will be self-motivated to win the game and to be first place. So by knowing the strengths, I can then customize the approach, especially in the early days of sobriety, knowing their talents and helping them lean on what they naturally already do. They might not know that they have competition or one of the other talents, but if I know it, then I can customize their approach so that they're going to lean on what they already do well. And use that toward, especially in the first couple, weeks and months of sobriety. It can be a real game changer. If someone's already has these talents and you can tap into them for sobriety purposes.
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? Because everyone is so different, and we different things make us tick, literally, And so I guess we should talk about. You got me to do this, and of course, a lot of the things. So I guess most of us know pretty much what our strengths are, but it is quite interesting seeing them laid out there. So I've done a few things like this before. I've done the Enneagram, which some people will have heard of, and I've done a Myers-Briggs thing ages ago. There are a bunch of these kind of things, but I did like the real simplicity of this test. It was very interesting, the way it just kind of throws these top 5 strengths at you. So were you surprised to find out what mine were, Sally?
I loved seeing your results. First of all, I just have to say thank you for doing the assessment and playing around with this a little bit. It's so insightful. Usually when people first get their results, they're like, oh, that describes me perfectly, right? Kind of the beauty is that now you have a name for it, right?
Yeah, so totally.
One that did not surprise me at all is Janey. For those that are listening, Janey has woo, which is the only talent in the 34. That's an acronym that stands for winning others over.
Yeah, I have to just jump in there and just say, of course, I thought that meant woo-woo. And I thought, well, that's very progressive of Clifton Strengths. How did they know that I was completely woo-woo? But it doesn't mean that at all.
No, that's the one. That one, yeah, it's a little tricky. It stands for winning others over, which is in the influencing domain, and it is so obvious. Well, so what's interesting though is you also have connectedness high, which is your number 9. Connectedness does tend to be a little woo-woo of sorts. It tends to be a little more philosophical and likes the mystery of life, finds connections between disparate phenomena, and finds the linkage between things. Someone high in connectedness like you would be able to bridge gaps amongst people that without connectedness. I don't see those same bridges as someone with connectedness. Your woo certainly wins others over, right?
Yeah.
That was no surprise.
Yeah, I guess that's it really, because it does feel really important to me that people, that I inspire and encourage people, with the podcast. I mean, I can't make everybody do what I want them to do, sadly, but But if you can just inspire a few people by your encouragement, then that's the thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I found quite interesting, I forget what they called it, my
futuristic. Yes.
Futuristic. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this one.
Yeah, well, again, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm there in kind of space kit or anything. It just means that I'm very future focused. I am. That's
yes.
Right. I guess that's what it means. But again, you see, that's really interesting, isn't it? In terms of in terms of behavior change, one of the things that we always talk about on the podcast is I'm always trying to encourage people to play that tape forward, to think about what it will be like when you've stopped drinking, when you're living the life you've wanted to live, when you're, when this is, and for me, it's a case of encouraging people. Okay, don't wait till, after Christmas, till the kids have left, whatever. Just do it now. Throw that tape forward. So for me, that feels really, really important. But of course, what the kind of assessment, if people choose to do it, what it shows is also what the flip side of that might be. So, in the other work I've done, would call that the shadow side. But, so right. What might be the flip side? And it was very interesting for me noticing that the flip side for me would be, don't forget to be in the moment, which was actually very powerful for me to read that reminder, because of course that's really important too.
Yeah. I would love to take this a little step further. You're futuristic, also, no surprise. Number one, your strongest, most dominant talent is futuristic. Futuristic, just so we can get kind of a little bit of grounding and definition, is it's people are inspired by the future and what could be. They energize others with their visions of the future, which is so clearly, when I saw your results, I was like, oh, you're sober by the sea, your podcast inspiring people by this vision of a sober life. So resonated with me when I saw that result. The flip side is you could be seen as your head's in the clouds, always thinking about the future, right? And so while your strengths can be your most powerful assets, they also have what you call this flip side, or the blind spot. And maybe that was a blind spot for you, right? Is your head's always in the clouds. And the flip side is you need to practice being present, right?
Yeah, very much so. Really interesting. So I know you said when we connected that your strengths are practically opposite to mine.
We have very different strengths.
Tell us about yours, because it's interesting. I'm sure people would be interested to hear some of the other ones that come up then.
Sure. One thing is I can maybe apply this to the sobriety journey is, and this is just kind of a funny little story, is when I first started my own, journey of getting sober, I instinctively leaned on my talents, and I didn't necessarily know I was doing it. And that's kind of the power behind strengths, is you don't know that you're turning on your learner or your input or your achiever talents, right? But that's what I was doing. And kind of looking back, I was like, oh, duh, right? That makes sense.
Tell me a bit about your story. I don't know much about your story to sobriety. Tell us about that.
Oh, and then we'll come back to the application of strengths. Sure. So I would say I'm kind of one of the typical, kind of fit the typical definition of a gray area drinker. Liked my wine at night, that wine witch. She was pretty loud in my brain. And, looking back, kind of way back, I grew up also in a family, like many of us, that grew up where alcohol drinking was completely normalized at birthdays, at funerals, et cetera, right? All kinds of family events. Very, very normal to be, kind of heavily drinking in my family. I would say it kind of ramped up in my younger 40s, mid 40s, and I started my own business around that time. I was traveling pretty extensively. Husband was on the road a lot, so didn't have, we weren't together a lot. And I was using alcohol. I'm the first to admit I was self-medicating. I was using it as a stress relief. like many gray area drinkers do. And with the travel and starting my own business and just the stress of, we also moved in that time.
Weren't you also in the construction industry? Quite unusually for a woman.
Yeah, a little unusual. So that is kind of who I gravitate toward from a coaching perspective, is because that's what I am, as a business owner, but also in the engineering and construction industry.
And is that a big drinking industry? I mean, I know all industries are, but
absolutely. Yeah. It's like the work hard, play hard. And literally you're working hard in the field, play hard at night, and male dominated. So, there was always that, like, want to keep up with the guys
with the lads,
kind of. Yeah.
Interesting. And then when you decided to stop, then how did you go about that? Are you going to tell us you leaned on your strengths, but what else sort of came? What was the light bulb moment for you?
The light bulb moment was almost two years ago, actually, this weekend. We're recording this Thanksgiving weekend time frame here in the U.S. My drinking kind of ramped up during COVID, and then by the end of 21, I was like, I got to do something different. Like, I have to do something. And I signed up, kind of not even knowing what I signed up for, a 21-day challenge. And I was like, I just change my relationship with alcohol in 21 days, right? How we think that sometimes. 21 days, that'll do the trick. And I did this 21 days. What I didn't realize I was signing up for was it was a learning program. And learner number one. So that's my first strength. My top dominant talent is learner. It was a learning program. So every day it was an email with, some insights and some of the tools and tricks that we all know now, being kind of on the other side of alcohol. And at the end, and it was also a connection. There was a social connection group that I was then a part of. I learned a couple of things. One, I didn't realize, wow, there's other people that feel this same exact way about their drinking that I felt about mine. And I had like a lesson every day. So the learner was tapped into. The achiever is my number two. Achiever loves to set goals, loves accomplishments, celebrations, loves to get things done. So every day I was like, oh, here's the lesson. And I would check off the list, right? Achiever loves to check things off lists. Input is my number four strength, has this like deep craving to know more. And at the end of the 21 days, I was connected with this group of women, and my learning and input was like, there's more out there that I should probably continue learning. And I did, so that was December of 21. I did dry January of 22. I did Annie Grace's program for the alcohol experiment. I did that 30 days. And again, I'm like, ooh, there's more to learn. There's more to learn.
Yeah.
I experimented with moderation. That didn't go very well. And then in April of 22 is when I decided to just put it off to the side and say, I'm going to give this sobriety thing a try. And, honestly, it was so, you guys all, this, your listeners know this, that like, it's so freeing. It's so, once you just say, okay, I'm making this decision. It's one decision. I'm going to put it off to the side. It was like, oh, okay, I can think about other things now.
Yeah,
it just clears up so much mental space and mental energy, right?
So that's interesting. So for you, it was really important that you've probably heard me talk a lot on the podcast about how important I believe it is that everyone has that logic piece. So even if you are, only, in inverted commas, future focused like me, and you just want to get to the good bit, it's actually very important that you understand that logic. So obviously for you, that was absolutely key, as with the learner in you. You really wanted to learn all the reasons why. So it was not going to be enough for somebody like you just to simply say, look, trust me, sweetheart. Your life will be better without the booze. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting, Janey, is my futuristic is number 5. And I did not, yours is number 1, mine is number 5, which is still very dominant. I did not see sobriety as my future. When I did that 21 days, I was like, oh, I just got to do something different. Like, I just got to give it a break. I did not. So my futuristic in some way, held me back because I didn't envision sobriety, long-term sobriety, as where I wanted to be. So here my strengths and talents were kind of at odds with each other, right? As learner wanted to learn more, and input had this craving and this, depth of knowledge that it wanted. But futuristic was like, what? Long-term sobriety? That's not what you're out for. So again, your greatest strengths can be your greatest weaknesses. They can hold you back. They have a flip side, and they're complicated. People are complicated,
well,
right?
And I guess also, we've all got a bit of everything. I mean, while they're not my biggest strengths, I also absolutely love learning. I absolutely do. I'm queen of the questions. Why ask one question if you can ask 100? That's me.
That's your ideation.
Oh, that's ideation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Has all kinds of ideas and fascinated by ideas. Yeah. That's ideation
absolutely.
number 3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is really interesting, isn't it? So I guess for anybody, anybody's kind of listening to this, I suppose one way of kind of summing up some of this is to say there is no right way of going about, the behavior change you want to make. You have to do it the way that feels right for you. And if you can play to your strengths, whatever that might be, that's what you have to do. You can't listen to, the way somebody else has done it. I mean, I know people that have very successfully, done 12-step programs. They've focused fully on the past effectively. Their whole kind of getting sober has been based on looking back and not wanting to go back to that. Constant reinforcement of what's happened in the past, and that sense that, okay, I don't want to be in the past, so I'll remain here, but without really any excitement for the future, but that's worked for them. And then there are, many other people who, we talk sometimes in the, when you look at some other kind of personality types about people who've got that rebellious streak. And I know I've noticed it with clients over the years. It's really interesting when you get somebody who has made their decision to stop drinking, and things might be going well for them, and then they'll suddenly, all of a sudden, what they'll usually say to me is, "I just decided, sod it, sod it. I'm grown up. I can have a drink." Literally, as if they're rebelling against themselves. So what's that about when that kind of thing happens for people?
Well, there is one. I mean, that could be many things, right? We could speculate on that. Sure. There is one talent that comes to mind when you describe that kind of effort mentality is like just impulsive, is a talent called activator. It happens to be your number 7 in your results. Activator is a theme that's described as, I love to describe it this way, is like ready, fire, aim. Is like jumps right in, doesn't make a plan, is like, forget about making a plan. I'm just going to jump right in and do it. So for those that are high activator, they can be described, the flip side, as you call it, or the blind spot, is they can be described as impulsive, right? So they may just be like, oh, well, F it. And, I'm just going to, not make a plan, which that can get you in trouble, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And just looking at all these different ways that people, decide to put this in place. I guess ultimately we have to, as you say, we have to play to our strengths. I know people, again, I think I mentioned it before, who will have found that they're very good at following a challenge. So they'll do a challenge, and then their mentality will be, well, I've ticked that one off now. That's it. I've done. In fact, there are lots of people who've done a year alcohol free, and then celebrated, in inverted commas, with a drink. Like, seriously, But so what can people do in that kind of instance if they've got that mentality?
Oh, if they have that, just want to do a challenge, and then my personal opinion is that they just want to prove to themselves that they're not an alcoholic, right?
Yeah, exactly. But wouldn't it be great if along the way they could, sort of harness the power of that? Okay, let's focus on everything we've gained rather than what we might have been giving up for, in inverted commas, for a year, i.e. nothing.
I think I know plenty of people who have done that too. And I think the missing link is that they haven't actually learned anything throughout the process. It's like a challenge. They quit drinking for 30 days, 60 days, 1 year, no beer, whatever they do. But they haven't learned anything about what alcohol does or any of the behavior change or anything else to back up. And they're just doing it to prove to themselves that, they don't have a problem.
Yeah, and they haven't kind of celebrated their wins, I suppose, as they go along, really, or really appreciated the difference that it's really made to their lives. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Or noticed any differences in their sleep, or like maybe they didn't take any notes because they weren't really curious. They just were like, I'm just going to do this to prove I don't have a problem. Maybe.
Are there strengths that are very common? Are there one or two that kind of come up more than others on high on the list for everyone?
On high drinking patterns, you mean?
Yeah, or just out of interest, what is there? I often say that my experience is that lots of people are people pleasers. Now, I don't know what that would come up as, because of course, what we love about this is we're looking at the positive, right? So we're not going to start discussing whether or not we're, miserable and anxious. We're looking at the flip. We're looking at the positive, which is fantastic. But someone who's a people pleaser, as it were, what might be the positive of that, and does it come up high at top? That's not a really
people pleaser, someone with high harmony strengths might be described as a people pleaser.
That's a nice reframe.
Well, harmony is a strength or a talent that's described as has this kind of mentality looking for consensus.
Yes.
They have an ability to see a situation and find the common ground in people. So they're looking for harmony. So that could look like people pleasing kind of on the flip side, or the blind spot of harmony. There's harmony. Another one of like what to watch out for when it comes to alcohol use is people high in empathy. So empathy, the way Gallup describes empathy is, being able to sense other people's feelings by imagining themselves in other people's lives. But empathy is like this, for those that have it, it's like this sixth sense of intuition and being able to really feel other people's feelings. Janey, yours comes up as number 15. Mine is way, way, way low in like the 20 somethings.
I was going to say, I thought mine would be up there, actually.
Yeah, yours is
very much me.
So someone high with empathy talents would be able to say, like, kind of walk into a room and know what's going on with the people, like feel stress or anxiety or happiness, joy. They could really feel very deeply the emotions of others.
Yeah.
What that can lead to is wanting to numb, because they're adopting the feelings that are positive and negative. They're taking on negative emotions. And I've coached a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, I just want to turn it off. I can't turn it off. And so they're using alcohol to turn it off.
Right.
To numb it. So that's one to like be super mindful of. If your listeners know their strengths and they have high empathy, can be a trigger to drink.
So would that be similar to, I did a podcast once with someone whose book was all about HSPs, highly sensitive people. Is it similar?
I don't know enough about that to be able to comment on if it's similar or not.
But I would imagine it probably is. But also in addition to the, I mean, they're words, aren't they? But you've got the kind of the person who's very empathetic, you've got the person who's very highly sensitive, and then you've got the person who is in the Enneagram, we call it the peaceful accommodator almost. So the combination of them. So if you're faced with a scenario where, your family, the person you've just started going out with, your best friend, whatever it is putting pressure on you to drink, it can be really difficult for those people early on, because they really want the other person to be comfortable. And the perception is, oh my goodness, I'm doing something that might make them feel uncomfortable, and I really want them to feel okay. It's bonkers, really, that we would think that about alcohol. But of course, lots of people do go through that process.
Yeah.
I've had several clients say to me, I did not want to drink, but I felt bad for whoever it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be empathy. It can also be harmony talents, that
Yeah.
we just spoke of too. The other, I wanted to bring this up too, is the other kind of one that couple of strengths that can lead to maybe some over drinking. You have high maximizers, number 10. So maximizer loves to maximize, to make even better, to make awesome, and
absolutely.
Bells and whistles,
bigger,
right?
better, faster, more. Yeah.
Exactly. Achiever is my number 2, is like, get this done and this done and this done, and then add this and go even bigger. And so achiever loves to cross things off lists, feels really good to get things done. Both of those strengths are little dopamine hits, right? When we cross things off our list and when we make things even better, like you just said, how you described your maximizer, those are little dopamine hits. Arthur Brooks describes it in his book. I don't know if you're familiar with From Strength to Strength. He describes it as strivers. So whether it's achiever talents or maximizer talents, what we're doing, because we have these talents, you and I, what we're doing is looking for striving for excellence. So the achiever, the maximizer, in Arthur Brooks's language, the striver, is striving for excellence. And that is that dopamine hit that we are looking for, which, as we know, right, that's what alcohol does. His quote from this book, if I could just read it real quickly, he says, people in high pressure jobs tend to self-medicate with alcohol, including at hazardous levels, which can turn off the sensation of anxiety like a switch temporarily, as we know, right? Strivers are prone to workaholism, or being success addicts, and have many of the same patterns of behavior as alcoholics.
That is
so
interesting.
He's drawing a direct linkage between some of our personality tendencies to addiction, which is super interesting.
Yeah. So in a sense, what you're saying is that people that maybe they're perfectionists, or they strive, or they want more, or they've got very highly very responsible or stressful job, whatever that might be, or their own business, can often, and of course we're generalizing, but they can tend to feel the need to be able to switch that off sometimes. And the way to switch it off quickly is to reach for alcohol. Yeah.
Well, it's both. I mean, alcohol, that striving gives us that hit of like wanting more, right? So that's that dopamine hit, but also it can lead to wanting more of that, right? And that's what can lead to the addiction and either workaholism or alcoholism, right?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, we started off by saying, certain industries are known for people. I mean, as time goes on, I tend to think it's every industry. Just people always used to say to me, "Oh, you're in the music industry. Oh, wow, you must have seen a lot of drinking." Well, yeah, of course I did. But then you talk to a nurse and they'll tell you, "Oh my God, the medical profession off the scale." And then you talk to a teacher. I did a TEDx talk it was TEDx in Norwich, where there were a lot of professors, and apparently the drinking within the educational, particularly higher education, is huge. And then you've just said the construction industry, and so it goes on and on. But I suppose that would kind of explain to a certain extent perhaps why people in these high pressure jobs are so often linked to high levels of drinking.
Yeah, because it is that's what we kind of said earlier in the podcast, was like, that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing. High pressure job, new business owner, a lot of stress. And it does. Alcohol, we can't deny it. It does turn that off temporarily, the stress. Of course, you still have the same stress when you wake up the next day.
And a hell of
but
a
it
price
gives you,
to pay.
well, exactly.
Yeah. Sure. So what's the kind of conclusion, as it were, then, Sally? What can everybody kind of start to think about in terms of focusing on their own strengths and talents? I mean, I guess one key thing from all of this, even if you don't, get your strengths assessed, is just to acknowledge that all the times we talk about our weaknesses, which is a hell of a lot of time, we spend a lot of time focusing on what's wrong with us. Actually, how cool to be able to reframe that and put a positive spin on it, because there always is a positive spin, right? I guess that's
yeah,
a
there's,
nice way
of course,
looking at it.
there's always a positive spin. Is I would say that kind of the takeaway, I was jotting down a note here. You said, what's the takeaway is whether you know your strengths or not, you know what you do well. Right. You know what you do easily, what comes naturally to you, whether it's getting things done or thinking strategically about problem solving or influencing others or building relationships. You can kind of look at those 4 brackets of talents and just instinctively kind of read through them and say, yeah, that's probably me. You can certainly do the assessment, and you can log on and complete the assessment. But even without that, just knowing what you naturally kind of gravitate to, aim that toward your sobriety journey, right? So for me, that meant learning. For me, it meant achieving, crossing off the days of the challenge and learning something along the way that was tapping into my number 1 and 2 talents. I wasn't trying to do that. I just did it, right? That's because that's just the way that I do things. That's what Clifton Strengths gives us, this framework for describing how we do things the way that we do them.
And for me, it was a case of keep focusing on how much better life's going to be in the future. Hang on in there.
Yeah. Well, you're futuristic. You naturally thought about this bright, vivid future that you could envision for yourself. Right. And you, without knowing what futuristic talents meant, you just did it instinctively, right? You leaned on your talents without even having a name for them.
Yeah. So I guess it's getting in touch with what we do best, as you say, how we tend to operate, and do more of that and apply it to whatever behavior change we want to make, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other beauty of Clifton Strengths is it's not just about behavior change and sobriety and your own, alcohol, issues. It's everywhere in life, right? So once you know your talents, you can apply that to, as a business owner, for you as an example, as a wife, as a mother, they're going to make you, understanding your talents are going to make you better in every area of your life.
Yeah. And of course, once people have stopped drinking, that's often when so much else opens up for them. That's
100%.
It's just beautiful, isn't it? It's just amazing to see the way it changes people. Just the messages I get and the stuff we see in the Sober Club. It's so inspiring. People who just say, I can't believe that I never could have imagined that I would go and do that MA in writing, or that I would start that charity, or that I'd write a book, or that I'd run a retreat, or whatever the hell it is. People have got, they can't believe they've done it. And yet, of course, it was always one of their strengths, in inverted commas. But sobriety, but drinking, of course, dulls everything. I guess that's the other thing. Drinking too much will literally dull your strengths.
Your strengths, your talents. Exactly. Yeah, totally. And then once you take the booze out of the equation, then you can say, okay, well, now I've directed my talents at this particular issue or challenge in my life. Now that booze is off the table and off to the side, now how can I direct my talents at being better at my job, being better as a mother, being better as fill in the blank, right? You can direct your talent. That's kind of what I love about strengths is that there's so many applications for it. And it makes you better at your job. Once you really have that kind of a deeper understanding of what your talents bring to the table. And of course, what some of the blind spots might be too, is you don't want to overuse your talent, or it might just completely be in the blind spot for you.
Yeah, fascinating. So tell us where we can find you, Sally, and tell us what you offer.
Yeah, you can find me. So my last name is Magee, as you mentioned. You can find me at MageeCoaching.com. So the name of my coaching practice is Magee Coaching Solutions. Whether you're sober curious or sobriety seeking long term, we have solutions is my tagline. So it's Magee Coaching Solutions at MageeCoaching.com. I am the at Sober Strengths Coach on Instagram. Yeah, a bunch of places you can find me.
Brilliant. Sally, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Fascinating stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can I offer one other thing to your listeners? Yeah. I'm also doing a 2-hour workshop where it's an intro to strengths and how to apply your strengths at your sobriety. So it's basically an action for each one of the strengths. You'll get your top 5. So as part of signing up for the workshop, you get your top 5 strengths. And it's a 2-hour workshop with full of ideas and applications for Clifton Strengths on your sobriety journey. So I'd love to just offer that to your listeners also.
Yeah, fantastic. We'll put the link in the show notes.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Janey. It's been a pleasure.
So all the info is in the show notes, and you can check out Sally's site, mageecoaching.com. Just a little mention in case you're interested in training to be a sober coach. I appreciate that's not many of you listening to this, but it's just worth mentioning it. I mean, if I don't mention it on my own podcast, what can we do? So I am running another course. It's kind of full. I think I might have one space in January, at the end of January. It's in Hertfordshire. We start with 2 days in person, and then that's followed by 5-6 weeks online, a whole bunch of recorded material as well. Some amazing experts who join us as guest expert teachers, including William Porter. We have Catherine Watkin on sales. We have Joe Creed, who does an NLP offering for us. We've got Dale Pinnock, the medicinal chef, who covers nutrition. We've got Dr. Bumi Abawaba on food addiction. There's a whole bunch of incredible people. So if that's for you or somebody you know who would like to train to be a sober coach, it's a fully holistic training. So drop me a message if that is of interest to you. I must also mention that I've got a new book out. Completely forgot to tell you about that. It's a co-authored book, co-authored with Beverly Densham, and it's a series of books called Stress to Calm in 7 minutes. So in the series, they're going to be one for nurses and one for teachers, but this first one is called Stress to Calm in 7 minutes for lawyers. Now, I don't know how many of you listening are lawyers. Maybe you've got someone in your family, in which case, well, that'll be the perfect stocking filler, won't it? But obviously these tools and tips, it's quite a small book. We give you the science behind each of the tools that we suggest. And then there are literally 1-minute tools that will help you reduce stress. I mean, what's not to like? And of course the tools don't know if you're a lawyer, right? They don't really. So while this book is pitched to lawyers, and we've absolutely got content in there that's unique to lawyers, actually the tools can benefit anyone. So have a look. It's called Stress to Calm in 7 minutes for lawyers. I hope you enjoy that. I also want to tell you that I am part of a new radio station called Kinda Sound. And they do some fantastic work. It's such a cool initiative, doing charitable stuff and training in the community and a whole bunch of stuff. But the really exciting piece is that it's all really positive. Who doesn't want some positive stuff right now? And this station is all about positivity and well-being. So my show on there is called Imperfectly Natural. It's live today. They also have a Kind of Sound podcast. So catch up with that, and at some point join in on the show. You can message in and be part of Kind of Sound Radio. So I really hope you'll check that out. So just a reminder then, Sunday 3rd of December, if you want to join us for Bossing a Sober Christmas. The 8th of December, Family Constellations Online. You'll find both of those at thesoberclub.com. Click on events, and a mention for Tuesday the 5th. I'm going to be seeing some of you in London. Can't promise how many tickets are left for that, but some of you lucky ones are going to get to be there, and I can't wait to meet you. Whatever stage you're at in this journey, don't forget, tell someone. It's really important. Don't hole up and do this on your own. Join us in the Sober Club, or give someone a message, or contact Alcohol Change UK if you want advice. Grab one of the many amazing books. I think you'll find mine's called Happy, Healthy, Sober. There are so many ways to do this, but get supported, get the resources you need. Try and feel accountable. You'll only feel accountable if you tell someone you're doing this. And I will absolutely hold that vision for you if you drop me a message. I do my best to reply to messages as much as I possibly can at Janey Lee Grace across all the social media. Make sure you follow me, and I'll see you same time next week. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.